welcome to Gifts of Ruin. We are trying out all sorts of different sets, and I'm having a really fun time doing so. And Ben, my guest here today, gets to try this set out for the first time, so this is pretty cool. So this show is called Gifts of Ruin, and why? Why is it called that? I have a great fascination of people's struggles, and my own struggles in my life have given me my greatest strengths. And so I'm always fascinated with, the crumble or the ruin completely sucks. But then the build up and the rebuild from that is what makes me salivate. So I had this idea about Gifts of Ruin because there's not one human being walking this planet that hasn't experienced some sort of ruin or reckon, and I think by hearing stories of each other and how did that person get through it, and oh man, I can relate to that person. Oh man, that person is
absolutely.
It really just gives you that wisdom that comes with it, and there's so many gifts within the struggle that are really important to talk about, and it makes us human.
It does, and at least speaking for myself, in hearing what other people are going through, especially when I'm all alone in that little closet that I lock myself in, that self-loathing pity closet. When I start to come out and I hear another person's experience, and I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly what I'm going through. I'm not alone. It's automatically this weight just drops off you, and even if it lasts for 10 seconds or 10 minutes, it's the 10 seconds or 10 minutes that you need to get yourself out of that closet and get back on your feet.
It's a shared human experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we are here with Ben Filinson. Ben and I went to high school together, which is really cool because I'm not sure when the last time I saw you was in person.
Been a while.
It's been a while. But if you could tell our guests what are you all about? What's happening in your world? And you're an amazing filmmaker, so let's talk about that.
Thank you. Yes. I really have been focused on filmmaking, still photography and filmmaking over the past 20 some odd years. And I worked in the commercial side of things for a long time, TV commercials and TV shows, etc. and so on. I left that in 2012. I moved to New York. I decided that I wanted to full-time work on the fine art side of things. I was really disheartened by the commercial production world, and so I moved to New York, from New York to Europe to Seattle back to Los Angeles, where I've been for the past 3.5 years, 4 years, and over that period of time, finally got back into, after years of experience, got into experimental filmmaking. I shot, edited, wrote, directed 4 films in the past 3.5 years, and they've done really well internationally and domestically. 49 film awards.
49. That's insane.
And it's actually 3 continents, several countries.
So you're kind of a badass.
And so things are working well in that regard, but where we are professionally and where we are internally and personally is, in my experience, oftentimes not in alignment. Mm-hmm. What we project out into the world are a picture that we want the people to think, how we're doing, what we're like. In my experience, again, is often not the case in reality.
So you're saying that there are, even though you have all these great accomplishments and you've reached goals that you had, and the journey of trying to reach that top, you've reached it, and what you're saying is that there's still an emptiness, or there's still a sense of an accomplishment inside.
Both. both. The way that I sometimes look at it is there's the social media you, there's the you are with your friends, and then there's the you are with yourself.
Yeah.
And those three are generally pretty, one's super polished, these are all the good things about me.
Yeah.
The other one's a bit more evened out, and then, with me at least, the me I am with me tends to only look at the negative things, right? I don't give myself credit for any of the accomplishments, any of the work that I've done. I'm super, super hard on myself. And, that's equally as, unhelpful as like the social media us, where it's just look at all of my accomplishments, don't look at any of the, tough stuff.
It seems like it could be cool and quite something for us all to focus on, really.
Absolutely.
Is just show up as messy and as awful and as brilliant and as human as you possibly can.
Absolutely.
And that would be the goal.
That would be awesome.
I mean, tell all our stories.
That would
and have
be fun.
everybody
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Yeah!
I mean, the more honest we are with each other in a comfortable way like this in particular, I think there's just really this poisoned way of looking at things where, just over, this is a generational thing, just going back and back and back. It's like, it's impossible to live up to these expectations that we see on TV and in like, movies. And it's just ridiculous. It's so far from anything that's remotely achievable as a human being. And that is our expectation, and that is the goal line we set for ourselves, is why so many people are just constantly miserable. They're like, well, I'm doing all of this stuff, I've done this, I do this, I do this, I do this, and it's never enough, because that's what we're taught. We're taught to never be satisfied with what you've got, always strive for more, always get, it's like,
Yeah.
can I just like hang out with people I love and that love me, and can that not be enough?
You can.
You know what I mean?
And that's the coolest part.
Yeah.
You can, and you can shift the mind, and that's part of the work I do with my clients. It's just shifting the mindset and saying like, oh, okay, I'm completely and perfectly perfect. I have effed up so bad, and you know what? I'm still lovable, and I'm still good enough, and I'm still worthy of living. You know what I mean? It's like, okay.
Yeah. Can I just live?
That's the truth. Yeah.
Like, why? Like, I don't need. What is it? All this stuff I'm supposed to do? Like, I don't want to do it. I just want to live.
Wouldn't you say the only person that really puts those limitations on you is yourself?
Absolutely.
So let's bust those.
Yeah.
Bust those open.
Exactly.
Thank you for that is just such great grit that you've given us to jump off from. So I have a few questions I kind of want to ask you.
Please.
So since this is Gifts of Ruin,
yes.
I would love to dive into, what is one of yours? Because I have like 20 million episodes that I could do on all my ruins. But what is one of your ruin that you have not necessarily like gone through it and you can stand on top of the mountain and say, oh, I achieved it.
Yeah.
But like, what is the ruin that we want to talk about today that really began to light up your path?
Yes. So the ruin that we'll go through today.
Yeah. I'll have you back.
Yeah, please do. Unless I crumble over in tears and fall off the desk.
Then we'll definitely have you back.
First, my father passed away a year and a half ago. And so this ruin is going into that experience. The experience I had, I spent a lot of time with my father. I was fortunate to spend a lot of time with my father. That last year, he had throat cancer, so he had a trach tube, and the whole time he wasn't able to speak anymore. So, to have the entire last year of his life with him not being able to speak and having that be the relationship was challenging, to say the least. But in particular, what I want to go through is, during that process of taking care of him, spending a lot of time with him, what I recognized, what I came to realize, it was crystal clear, was that all of these things that I had always despised or disliked or made me so angry about my father, not want to see him, not want to talk to him. Growing up, through my whole life, I had this crystal clear recognition that all of these things were all of the things that were inside of me that I really disliked about myself. And this isn't blaming my father, it's just recognizing how these things are so generational, and how, those things were passed on to him from his father and mother and back and back and back and back. And in that recognition, I found this, and it wasn't anything I had to try for, it came up inside of me. Through that recognition, I was able to find this forgiveness for him and this empathy for him that I never had before. Because I recognized that, and what I also recognized was how challenging it had to have been for him to, going through all of this internal pain, to give me all of the things that he gave me, all of the positive things that he gave me growing up. And so, it was, I think needless to say, pretty powerful to recognize that.
So did you recognize it slowly, or did you recognize it when he couldn't speak and it was like a mirror that you were looking at, or how did you come to the realization that, oh, that's me?
Yeah, I recognized it when he could no longer speak, and he was in and out of the hospital several times, and we actually had to move him, and I was the one that went to his apartment, and this was like the first time I had been in his apartment without him there, and I had to do the deep cleaning and like the packing of all of his stuff. And the way we live, we have like, this is where I'm gonna put my stuff and nobody's gonna see it. And it's like, we don't think about, all right, if I'm incapacitated and someone has to come in and go through all of my stuff, like, there's no hiding, things we hide from others and ourselves and, around where we live. And I was the one that went through that, and I just saw, it was heartbreaking to see. Just seeing the way he was living those later years, because he was alone, he wasn't asking for help, I knew that he was getting sicker. He wasn't telling me the truth, because I lived, pretty quite far away. And I just saw, like, God, he's been suffering so much, and he hasn't been asking for help. And he's just not been telling me the truth because he didn't want to worry me.
Telling you the truth of how bad
he was getting,
how he was kind of helpless in a way, and you were just shocked by yeah.
You're right. Yeah, it was the fact that when he could have still asked for help, that stubbornness inside of him, he just refused to. When there was still time, to get him, I think, more help than he ended up because he just did nothing about his cancer, he just did nothing about it. And
it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, and I just recognized that, that was the initial recognition, that stubbornness, that not asking for help, that denying help when people are offering. Really, that's a big one. When people offer help, no, everything's fine. Yeah. I'll take care of it myself. That's my responsibility. I'll do it.
And you used to
I did that my whole life.
And now, do you do it? Or
yeah, but I recognize when I'm doing it, and I try to make adjustments. I do make adjustments.
That's self-awareness, and you wouldn't have been able to break that if you hadn't seen your dad do that.
No. It's it's tough, but it is what it is.
And to lose a parent, that in itself, I fortunately have not gone down that road, and I pray that I get to go before they do. And, I can't imagine that in itself as the devastation and the heartbreak to lose your dad.
Yeah, it's interesting. Initially, especially when you're watching it, anyone you love, but particularly I think a parent, when you're watching them deteriorate over a year, especially with something like cancer, where they just really dwindle away, as a human being. When they initially pass away, there's really this relief where it's like, oh God, their suffering's over, you know.
Yeah.
But your suffering hasn't even begun, you know. Like for me, it really took it was the year mark. And my dad passed away on my birthday.
Oh, man,
So, yeah.
that's tough.
So the 1 year mark, you know, and going forward for as long as I'm around. But he passed away on my birthday, which also happens to be April Fool's Day.
Oh man, triple whammy. Is there? Oh man.
Yeah.
So have you found ways to like how does that day happen? Did you find ways to turn it around, or are you just like?
Well, I've only had one so far.
Okay.
So it hasn't even been 2 years.
Wow.
But it hit me like a ton of bricks, and I have this breathing practice that I've let last. Tend to be super on it for like 6 months, and then I start feeling good, and I get off it, and then I let myself suffer, and then I get back on it. But anyhow,
Yeah.
The last time I was really on it was during that whole year when my dad was going away, and the year afterwards, and it got to this point where like, I was crying, and it was every time I sat down and did this practice, I would either start crying immediately or shortly after, and I was breaking down every day.
This was after your dad passed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was just like this pain coming up from this depth that I had never reached before. And I think it's absolutely necessary to be able to go there with yourself. It's required to really come through it, but it's also, it is, at least in my experience, was the most exhausting thing in the world. Like it got to a point where that's kind of why I backed off, because I was like, man, I need a break. This is too much. This is too much. It's too much. It's too much. I need a break.
The breathing practice was too much, or
the crying.
Oh, the crying.
It was just this sobbing, and like I had expected it. I knew it, but like it's not stopping.
Yeah.
And like at one point, is this becoming like
Health.
Like I can't just live in this much sorrow. Like I need joy.
To balance.
There was no balance.
Yeah. So did you took breaks, obviously.
Well.
And, what brought you joy?
My filmmaking.
And so you dove into that.
So yeah, the whole year. Basically, what I would do is I would go really deep into these internal places. And there would be something particular that would strike. Like The Mechanics of Intimacy was one film, and that was all about me trying to find a healthy place of the masculine and feminine energies inside of myself. Of course, this was represented by an actual woman and by myself in the film. But that's been it's heavily unbalanced inside of myself, and I believe in human beings in general.
Yeah.
But I'm not here to I'm not a preacher. I'm just trying to share my story. You know what I mean? So I know that there's an unbalance there. I know that that's why I have. It's not to say I haven't had healthy relationships. I've had relationships that have been good, but for the most part, they haven't really been. I haven't had really great relationships with women. Intimate relationships. I've had awesome friendships. Right? I'm super dope as a friend, and that's great. I love my friends' friendships. I couldn't live without them. But I'm also a human being, man, that has desires to be in intimate relationships with women, and because of the unbalance inside of myself, those have been unbalanced, and I've either attracted women that have treated me like, not the way I deserve to be treated, or I've treated women in a way that they don't deserve to be treated. So as long as that unbalance is inside of me, it's going to be presented and it's going to manifest as an unbalanced relationship in the physical world.
So do you think that what gives you that balance? Like how do you know when you're out of balance?
I know when I'm out of balance when I'm just generally, my initial response to everything that's going on is anger.
Yeah, I feel that.
It doesn't matter what it is, boom, I'm pissed. Yeah, I just
Snap
want to,
dragon.
yeah, exactly. And when that's my natural state, when I wake up and I'm just I'm ready.
Ready to
Yeah, and
fight.
I'm just like that with everyone, with everything. Then I know there's massive imbalance. inside.
Yeah. And then what's your next step? Breath?
When I'm doing what I should be doing, it's breath. It is. It's my breath work. But when I'm not where I should be, I just stoke the fires.
And like the should. I just have to jump in.
Yeah.
I had a teacher once that said to the class, stop shooting on yourself, and that stuck with me. Like, yeah, you're right. Like, I don't want to shoot on myself.
Yeah, that's
Should.
totally great.
It's like,
Yeah, no, that's great.
who's telling you what you have to do? It's what I like to think about is that we're exactly where we are meant to be. Even if it's a shitstorm, we're exactly meant to be in that moment, and the universe, God, whatever you believe in is beyond this, even if you don't believe in anything.
Yeah.
Like that, you as a person somehow navigates through life and places themselves exactly where they need to be, and you receive exactly what you need to be in order to take the next step. And sometimes the next step is sobbing in sorrow for 75 years,
Yeah.
But the fact that you woke up and said, hey, I think I'm out of balance here, I need to explore some joy, is what a beautiful gift that is.
Yeah.
And who's to say that maybe that wasn't, I like to think that maybe that was your dad,
Yeah.
helping you out.
Yeah.
Did you ever have any experiences like with him after he passed?
He visits me a lot in my dreams.
Okay, can we hear a little bit about that? You don't have to go
Yeah,
into
no,
detail.
for sure. Some, it's interesting. It really varies. It really varies a lot. Sometimes I totally recognize him. It's him. He's often like different ages. Sometimes he's like a younger dude in his 30s. Sometimes he's as he was when he passed away. Sometimes it's in between. Sometimes he's just cruising around in the peripherals, and other times, he like directly has something to say to me. He was actually in my dream last night, and this is really weird, but he was dressed up like super dorky, and I was looking at him like, what do you wear? Like, what are you doing? Why are you dressed like that? And then there was this place that he would go that was super negative and upsetting, where he was just like, repel everything around me that's good. And that's where that energy went, and it was in my dream, and I was saying to him, I was like, this needs, like, stop this needs to stop like this, I don't deserve this anymore. I don't deserve this energy being pushed on me anymore.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you receive any?
I woke
sort
up
of-
shortly after that.
All right. Well, it will come back.
Yeah.
He'll come back. It seems like there's a huge gift within this whole experience of you really like diving into you and realizing your worth and realizing the love that you have for yourself. And it's possible. I mean, we're all on that path of awakening and reawakening and accepting our love and self-love and self-forgiveness. Like, it seems like this experience and this ruin that you went through, losing your dad and the whole devastation of that, really opened your eyes to you and getting to know yourself and battling off these demons that don't deserve any space in your world.
I
I
agree completely. And I think that you've hit the nail right on the head. That's exactly what this process has been like. It continues to be like this, and that's something that is really challenging for me to find. Self-care, like authentic self-care. I'm not talking about going to a spa and treating myself to a nice day. I'm talking about sincere love, like real, authentic love from the heart for myself. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's tough as nails for me. even though, there's so many things, like I've never given up on this. I remember my father asked me, we were standing in the driveway, I believe I was about 4 years old. This memory has stuck with me like crystal clear my whole life, and he looked down at me and he said, what do you want to do with your life? What do you want to be when you're older, he said. And I immediately said, I want to be an artist. And
it's really beautiful. That's good.
I just, I did that,
You chose it. Somewhere deep within you, you knew that was your path, and it was you.
Absolutely.
What a cool moment.
So obviously, I think beneath all of this armor that I've stacked and stacked and stacked over the years, beneath that, there's obviously, I have deep love for myself, but, with the way that this world is and the way that things are, in society, it's all about, being tough. And that was, it's kind of the similar issue with this film, the mechanics of intimacy, and then going into the next film, which is titled Heartwork, was all about, like, I don't have to be tough for the world, you know what I mean? I don't have to be tough to look cool to, the people that don't know me walking down the street, being this tough guy my whole life, diving in and like all this armor, abusing alcohol, being, a piece of garbage boyfriend to try to be this tough guy, to, the world around me has done nothing but just stack on so many years of self-abuse and pain. Mm-hmm. And so, it's about letting that go and finding that 4-year-old that was standing there, in front of my dad in the driveway. And so, it's tough. It's tough.
I have this picture coming through of like a night almost. It's funny because when we went to high school, it was nights, but that has nothing to do with this. But like we go through our life and we have these experiences where these beautiful little babies that come into the world, very innocent, and all this stuff happens to us, and we start to put on armor. Yeah. And then before you know it, at some point in our life, we're standing there in a suit, in a night suit. Absolutely. And just like, you can't puncture me, no, that's not gonna, nope, I'm a knight, I'm gonna, why? And the most beautiful part of the journey, I believe, because I've experienced it, not to say everybody will, but is when you take that shit off, and you're like, man, I'm free. I'm vulnerable and real, and it's amazing.
It is. That's it.
And you're there.
Exactly it. That's exactly it. So and that's the amazing thing. Like when you do, and what's so dope about it, like you said, is when you do get there and you drop all that armor, and then you realize, oh my God, I am so much more powerful without all that garbage. Yeah. Like where I am in that space is so powerful and so untouchable by all this negativity, and at least for me, it's like you finally like bring all of that breath in, and it's like this energy beam, this tether to the cosmos that just connects into you right here, and it's like this endless abundance of energy and like love and compassion and strength, and it's this knowing that can't be put into words. Like I'm so much more than the things that I do, and and the way that I am with other people it matters. Like it really, really matters.
Your life, the best has not even come yet.
Yeah. I hope so. I think so.
I know, but what you've accomplished too is really huge. Like you were telling me earlier that this is the first time that you've seen your film in a theater.
Yeah. Yes.
That's awesome.
Getting this last film that I did was one of the festivals it was down in Los Angeles, and it was the first time I've seen something I've shot being projected in an actual theater, in a real, like, legit movie theater. And so, things are happening. I mean, things are always happening, but
Yeah, I think your biggest thing, honestly, I'm gonna jump in.
Yeah,
is
please do.
it's just like you can go through your life and keep climbing these mountains and keep having these goals that you want to accomplish and keep, and potentially it just pieces to the armor that you wear, and then you feel more accepted amongst others because you too have a something. But the real journey that I'm sensing from our whole conversation is that your most achievable gift or achievable goal is like 100% self-love and self-acceptance and self-forgiveness. And from everything that I know about you, you're a beautiful human being. The fact that you're this artist and you can put together all these incredible films, I mean, from the outside looking in, your heart is worth any mountain you can climb.
Thanks.
Honestly.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
It's true.
And I oftentimes either choose not to see that, or I don't see that, or when I'm editing through a project, I mean, I'm not ashamed to say that, like, I get tingles inside, and I often come to tears, and I'm like, whoa, like, this is really good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like,
I did it, yeah. And I'm super proud of myself. But then, it gets out into the world, and I submit it, and then that's where all of, like, well, it wasn't accepted by this festival, and it didn't get into this festival, and people are like, but wait, you just had it in a movie theater, and it's like, I don't care, that's meaningless, that's over. Like, this festival it didn't get into, and it's like, why, I tend to go to these, it didn't happen, this didn't happen, this didn't happen. It's like, and people are like, hey dude, like, it's,
wait, this is a trip because like you're like this self-critical of yourself, and then you put your heart out there, and then then you're experiencing that self-critic that's in your head. You're experiencing that from the outside world. So that's the gift. Yeah. You look at that and you're like, F that.
Yeah.
Wait a second, I don't need your acceptance.
Well, that's so funny that you say that, because recently when something comes in and it's like, sorry, we're not accepting your film, my movie, like, what? Like, this has nothing, my film's dope, I poured my heart out, and if you can't see it, I feel bad for you.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't say that to be arrogant and like, you know what I mean? But it's like, I'm pouring my heart out. Like, this isn't about, it's an experimental, like, it's about emotion. I'm not selling anything. I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm sharing my heart.
They don't get it.
You can pick it up or you can't.
They're not for you. And you know what? They're making space for the next person to come in and do it and accept it.
Exactly. So it's like, I'm gonna keep making my films.
Good.
I'm gonna keep pouring my heart out on mine, and I want to love people, and I can love people. I want to love myself the way that I tend to toss myself out on the train tracks for other people, but in the past I haven't done that for myself. I think over the past several years I do care about myself, and I do love myself, and I'm really trying to be compassionate and less, stop bashing my head against the wall.
The critic.
Yeah.
The critic.
Yeah.
Good. And I'm wondering, because it is such a journey, and no journey is linear.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like
absolutely.
So you're cyclical, and I experienced that too. Different things come up, and it's cyclical, and I have the opportunity to revisit it and feel it and heal it and cry about it and throw up about it. Like the whole thing happens again. So as someone who's just starting this journey, if they happen to be listening to this and they can really relate to you, and they haven't even begun to try the breath work, and they haven't begun to try any of the things you talked about, what would you tell them? What are some words of wisdom to some wonderful person out there that needs a little bit of light?
Yes, I would say that really persistence. And also, one thing that I learned that I know you know about this through that book, may I mention it?
Yeah.
The presence process. I would
Big
recommend,
fans of the presence
yeah, I would recommend with the last drop of my blood that if you have any desire, even the slightest inkling of a spark inside of you, to just learn how to start integrating all of these things. Purchase The Presence Process by Michael Brown. You can get it all over the place. Just look for it online.
Yep.
Anyhow, what I would recommend personally is just persistence, and don't expect to start feeling like everything is perfect and joyful all the time, because that's just not the way life is, and it isn't the way life is intended to be, even though they tell you that in every single magazine and every single television commercial you've ever seen. They're lies. Believe me, I worked on TV commercials for 20 years. It's all deception, and it's designed to make you feel horrible about the original true person that you are. Life is about feeling everything, not about feeling happy.
I love that. That's so real. That is so real. That is so true too. If there was, right, to go back to that,
Yeah.
so there is the duality, and you need the light, you need the dark,
Yeah.
you need the joy, you need the
it
sorrow,
all.
you need the happy, you need the, you need it all. You need
it all.
humiliation.
That's what
you
makes
need-
life complete, is embracing all of it, recognizing that there's something to learn about yourself in every single shade, from pure white light shining down on your face to pitch black.
depths of.
Yeah, and every shade in between is all important. It all matters. There's lessons everywhere, and I know it's cliche, but it's cliche because it's true.
It's true.
And I know it, and I'm telling you with all my heart, I know it to be true because I've hooked up and slamming my hand. I just know it to be true because I've experienced it, and
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
painful, but it's also the most incredible. There are moments of this magnificence and absolute knowing that happen, and they can never be put into words. It has to be experienced. But in order to experience that, you have to be willing to be completely honest with yourself, about yourself.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to do that, the rest will come. And your ride's going to look different than my ride.
Yeah.
But, you recognize it in other people too along the way, that like this person's, their journey may not look the same as mine, but I recognize it inside of them, and I love them so much for
Yes.
taking it.
Oh, that's so true. The people that open and share about, like even our interview today or our talk today has really, my level of compassion in my heart, I already had that for you, but it's grown zillion times. I love hearing like people, like you're being so real. Like this is what it's about. This is completely what it's about.
I agree.
And
That's what matters.
it's
really all
the
that
only
matters.
thing that matters.
It's all.
Yeah, and we have this like shared, I keep saying shared human experience, but it's because everybody's experience is different, but it's like this almost acceptance and that you have with people when you realize you're not happy and bright all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, you're real. Oh yeah, you really effed up. Oh, I love you more. Like that's what I've experienced.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I love to hear people's ruins because it makes us more
You
human.
Yeah, you
You're
realize
like,
it. And when you start realizing, like, everyone I talk to has
Yeah.
gone through it, like, this just makes it so much easier. Like, I'm not putting on any act in front of this person. It's like, I
Yeah.
am what I am there. And when we find that we love each other, not in spite of, but because of that,
Yeah,
there's nothing to prove,
no.
you know? There's
Well,
nothing to prove.
I think your journey of self-love is inspiring, and I can't wait to have you back.
Yeah.
And talk about what new gifts have come from your. Hopefully, you don't experience another ruin, but that's life.
Yeah,
That's life.
I'll make it through it.
Yeah.
One way or another.
That's amazing. If you were to journey onward and upward, what's one thing, if you were to pass,
Yeah.
what's one thing that you would want someone to know about you that you don't feel that they really know?
Wow.
How would you want to be remembered?
I think I'd like to be remembered as, as a truthful, honest human being. That I don't need to be remembered as Mr. Nice Guy or this or that, but that, you know, when you came to me, you know that what you were going to get in return, what you were going to get from a friendship or any sort of relationship was going to be authentic, and it was going to be 100%, and it was going to be unwavering, whether, you know, it's in the middle of a crisis or, you know, your wedding day, whatever.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I like that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for
Oh,
for opening up and connecting with me and everyone. And
You're very welcome.
yeah.
Anytime.
And so your films, we'll put them on the link below.
Yeah, that'd be great.
People can check them out.
Yeah, on my website, all my films are on there, and two of the most recent ones are password protected, but we'll put the passwords up there. It's just for festival purposes. It has to be that way. I
Yeah.
don't really care about that.
We'll give the
I'll
password.
give the password.
Cool. What a homie.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much, and I can't wait to have you back. And tune in. Keep tuning in. My next guest will. I'm not certain who it is yet, but if you know of somebody or if you have a story that you would like to share, please reach out. You can email me, or there's a little questionnaire on my website that you can fill out. But I really look forward to doing more of these and connecting with more hearts.
Absolutely.
And just being real. Let's be real.
Be real.
Be real,
like
man.
Real.
All right, thanks so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day or night. Peace.